Hey there, it's Tuesday, which means it's time for yet another in real life video. Though they won't always be on Tuesday, but for now, Tuesday feels right. It feels nice. It feels comfortable. It feels safe. But nonetheless, this week, we're not talking about really any of the current goings-on. I'm sure by now you've heard enough takes on sort of the Game Awards and how they really lingered so much on their celebrity guests and so little on a lot of the actual awards, which is always frequently the case, but this year was pretty egregious. They just skipped over enormous categories that, it almost feels like, why even have them? Or folks talking about the Grand Theft Auto trailer that came out a while back. I made some tweets about that as well. There was also the new Creation Club situation with Skyrim, which, I don't know, I've never been a big mod person, so the impact to me and my wherewithal and sort of overall expertise in that situation, I'm like the last person you should talk to about stuff like that, right? Frankly, it's just not my area of expertise. I don't have much to say about it. Seek someone who is more well-versed in that area, I would say. But this week, I want to talk about the absolute, at least so far, weirdest thing that I've ever had to do on YouTube as a person making videos. And not only is this probably the weirdest thing that I've ever done on YouTube, or will have ever done, probably for the longest time. I can't imagine anything eclipsing this anytime soon. But nobody really noticed that I did it. Probably for the best, but nobody really ever noticed anything that I ever did. Or maybe they did and they just never said anything. Maybe they wanted to keep our little secret or whatever if they did notice. Certainly didn't get any comments or emails or messages on other platforms, stuff like that. As far as I know, nobody knew. And for good reason. It was a while back in the early days of the channel. Back in, I believe, 2017. Yeah, 2017. Just checking right there. Got some cursory notes here. But yeah, back in 2017, we started a playthrough for Fallout New Vegas, right? You may remember that if you've been around a while, or if you've looked through the ever-expanding backlog of playthroughs that we have, and I frequently talk about, hey, someday I'd love to play through New Vegas again. Maybe not go through with a 100% sort of playthrough as we did back then, but certainly play through it again with a different type of character build. Maybe less texture pack mods, just kind of keep it closer to the original, or if they do like a remaster, which I've for a while now questioned, maybe they will, right? If they've got the Oblivion and the Fallout 3 remasters coming, good chance that New Vegas will be not far behind. But that's neither here nor there. This is tied to New Vegas specifically. And I think I've mentioned this before in other videos, so you may already know what I'm talking about, but the vast majority of people probably won't know. So, in 2017, like I said, we started this New Vegas playthrough. We're putting out videos as per normal, and then, something horrible happened in 2017 related to Vegas. This was also the year, in the latter part of the year, not only did I start the playthrough for Fallout New Vegas, but there was that horrible, tragic mass shooting in Vegas at the Strip. There was like a music concert, some sort of, I think it was a country music concert or something like that. And there were 61 fatalities there. It was horrible. It was absolutely atrocious. It is worth considering how more desensitized folks in general, especially Americans, have become to this. Whether we want to or not, it's kind of unavoidable. I notice it even in myself. And certainly I think the systems as well at play probably are affected by it just as well. Granted, this was quite the high amount of deaths, right? This was pretty horrible. But that is almost tangential to what has happened, or to what I did that was so weird. At the time, understandably, right, I can feel and understand where they're coming from. This was a big, horrible event that was going on in the real world, and people were making videos about it, right? And in some cases, YouTube didn't want to... They did allow you to make videos on it, right? As per numerous other tragedies in the world and stuff like that. You can still make videos about it. But in many cases, they wanted to play it safe with advertisers, right? Because you don't want to put... it just makes sense. I mean, case in point, look at what the fuck is going on with Twitter lately. You don't want to put advertising right next to some sort of horrific event because advertisers don't want their product or service or whatever associated too closely with something tragic unless they're, like, being helpful in some way, I presume. And in some cases, even that. But in this case, of course, they were running algorithms because it's impossible to human check every single video coming out on YouTube at any time, right? It's amazing that they even have the request human review situation nowadays. But they were running algorithms to check and see who was making videos sort of covering this in some way or another. And they had been doing this or they would continue to do this to a certain degree not too long after. Like, I remember, and in fact, I went back and checked, and it was still the case. I just recently requested a manual review, and certainly it's not the case anymore. But if I had a title that wrote, like, dead in it, it would get flagged for questionable monetization. Not fully demonetized, but sort of not in the green, not in the red, in the yellow, right? So, around the time of this horrible tragedy, right, in October of the same year, I was, of course, making videos on New Vegas. I even mention, as I'm keen to do, I mentioned this event, right, because we were playing a game set in Vegas when this happened. Pretty wild. And one of the things I didn't count on were my videos that didn't even have titles like dead or kill in them, right? Which, if it's a video game video, I think now there's an understanding that this will show up and it's not meant to such a harsh degree, right? There's a different context to it when regarding video games. But back then, of course, I've got my usual thumbnail title, right? Or thumbnail setup, I should say. Where we got the big circle, something from the game in the middle, usually a face these days. I'll throw up an example while I'm talking of one of the thumbnails. Now, with this thumbnail, do you notice anything particularly weird about it? Sure, like I said, the face isn't completely centered. The thumbnail's a little bit not quite as good. But hopefully, or maybe not. Like I said, nobody really ever noticed this. There is something that I changed about the thumbnails for about a month with New Vegas because seemingly, and I don't know for certain, but I even did a test to try it without this change. But all of the videos that had the text in the thumbnail, Vegas, were getting flagged into the yellow, right? So I was like, man, what could I do? What was possibly doing this? So at that time, and I went back and fixed the naming scheme. At the time, I had, of course, in the title, Fallout New Vegas. I just had it Fallout, or Fallout NV. I can't even remember at the time. But, of course, the thumbnails say, at the bottom center, Fallout New Vegas. So I thought, well, what if they didn't? Right? What if they didn't say that? So, I very cleverly, in some of them, I just made it say Fallout New Vegas. New Vegas. Right? I just swapped them around. And this sort of plays into the usual sort of human pattern recognition situation, right? Where, you've probably seen like little fun word puzzles or like mind bender twisters or whatever, where you see a whole bunch of words and some of them are misspelled, but, it's a situation where like the beginning word, or the beginning letter and the final letter are correct, but in the center, it's kind of jumbled up. But if you're fluent enough in the language, you can kind of make sense of the word, right? You can make sense of, oh, I know what this word is. And if you're reading along very quickly, it's not really going to trip you up too badly. We do this all the time. It's like, as far as I know, there's a specific term for it, but it's something to do with like humans' ability to recognize patterns. But I did that, and of course, nobody really noticed, or at least, like I said, nobody let me know that they noticed. Because it doesn't trip up humans, an algorithm going through it, I'm pretty sure it tripped it up. Because none of those videos got flagged, and even somewhere in between, I'd done a few of them. I can't remember exactly, I didn't write it down. But you can go back and look at the playlist. It's the early parts of the New Vegas playthrough. But you can look at where I put in a test one, and that one inevitably got flagged, where I spelled it correctly. So then I just did it for like an extra week or so. I can't remember how I decide when to stop doing it. I think I just did another test, and it worked, right? And this is very much, it could be completely coincident. It could be a complete coincidence, right? But regardless, I'm not sure what else to make of it other than that my theory on it was correct, right? And it makes perfect sense to me that it'd be that way. But I've no way of knowing whether or not that is actually what the problem was and that I fixed it correctly. It may be a complete coincidence. But what is true is that I did it. I really did it. I really 100% did. The evidence is still there. You can go and see where I did the little test where I stopped doing it about partway through to see if it would still work. And lo and behold, it didn't, so I did it a little bit more. You can go back and look at those early New Vegas thumbnails from, I guess, around October 2017 to November. And I'm a little bit surprised, but now looking back and understanding that, like, they have to sort of algorithmically run through those videos and those thumbnails because there's so many videos being uploaded to YouTube on a daily basis that it's like humanly impossible for them to do that, to sort of track every single one individually. The way, if they needed to pay for people to do it manually, every single one, I don't think they have enough money to pay that many people to just look at thumbnails and like video titles, right? Better to sort of have the algorithm do it and then have a smaller amount of human people review it, you know? But regardless, there you have it. Weirdest thing I've ever had to do on YouTube, and probably will be for the foreseeable future, right? Hopefully nothing more along those lines has to happen again, or maybe I can do something weirder, like, I don't know. Anyway, that'll do it. The holidays are upon us, so I'm quite busy. I'll be going out of town in between this video and the next in real life video. So I'm hoping to get a bunch of stuff recorded ahead of time, especially now that the whole wisdom tooth situation is mostly in the clear. Thank goodness. But going out of town to see family and whatnot, as per usual. Hopefully, you also, in turn, have a good one, and look forward to another in real life video, hopefully next week. And I'll see if... I probably won't get a record ahead of time. I'll be real. I still have quite a bit to do, like packing, doing a little bit of extra gift wrapping and stuff like that. So, hopefully I'll have time on Tuesday when I get back to do it. But if we miss a week, so be it. Anyway, until next time, please take care of each other.